The other, the other critical communication medium that we use as managers and leaders is making presentations. And as I said at the start of this tutorial, we do presentations one on one. Sometimes, when we're trying to um, put forth a proposal to an individual, or we can make them to groups. We can do training sessions as group presentations, or we're constantly presenting information or soliciting information from our teams as managers and leaders. So it's an important one that we stop and go through this as a critical element of communicating with influence when we look at this unit. As I mentioned at this in terms of communication, and we communicate to share and gather information or build rapport or persuade others on a point, and presentations are no different. They also have those reasons. When we when we're about to make a presentation, we should really think about the presentation in these three phases. Planning the presentation before the delivery. So what is it that I've got to do? How am I going to do it? What's my approach and so forth? Then the actual delivery itself, where we deliver on what we've planned, and then the evaluation, where we review to see how successful it was, whether it hit the mark, and if there's anything that we should be doing differently next time in terms of continuous improvement. So let's look at planning the presentation. When we plan our presentation, we should really think about um, these elements. Why am I presenting again? Why am I doing this? What does success look like at the end? So in terms of my goals, what's my aim? What's my purpose? Is it to share information? Is it to gather information? And if it is, what information do I need to share? What do I need everyone to be familiar with when they leave? What do I need to know about people when they leave as well? And we're sort of trying to get an idea of what does success look like. And that will drive our objectives for the presentation. Again, we think about the audience, just like we did with our other forms of communication. Who are the audience, or who is in the audience? What do they know about this stuff? How are they interested in it? What's their attitude towards it? How knowledgeable are they in terms of the technical elements? And from that, we write a presentation, some type of presentation statement around our objective, and then that's going to feed into our presentation plan. And generally, when we start to think about our planning process, we think about an introduction where we grab their attention, we state what the purpose of what we're doing here is, we explain what we're going to go through. Then we talk about the main body, which is the points that we said at the introduction we're going to go through. We would work through those and hopefully in a clear, logical sequence. And it's always good to go from the known to the unknown or the simple to the complex. So we start off with, you know, simple ideas that everybody's familiar with, and then we can take them to, if it is about sharing information or a proposal, then we take them into the unknown, the new stuff that we're presenting. What we don't want to do is we don't want to jump straight into the new stuff and have them bamboozled from the get go. Once we've gone through our main body, then we want to summarize, which is really bookending the introduction. Here we restate what it is that we hope to have achieved. We restate the key points that we've gone through, and then hopefully, instead of making an attention grab, we make a strong point to finish up on. And sometimes that might be a call for action. So, this is what I need you to do, or if we do this, we're going to be successful, whatever the case may be. And depending on the presentation, you might leave a reasonable chunk of time at the end for questions so that people can ask questions and give you the opportunity to talk through that. And usually when I'm trying to think about the planning process, I'm also brainstorming ideas to think about. For me, it's what's the story that I'm going to take people through. So I'm going to present something. The presentation might be on a new system that we're using in the workplace. How am I going to construct this presentation so that it takes people on a journey from the start to the finish? And that's what I call the storyline. What's the what am I going to start off with? And I might start off with telling them with what are some of the issues that we're facing with the current system that we're using. Why is there a need to upgrade? Talk about what are the benefits of the upgrade. What are some of the potential risks that we see? And what's the successes? What does the future look like when we're using this properly? So I'll think of some type of of narrative or storyline that I'm following. But to do that, I need to really brainstorm ideas. And something like a mind map, which is in this illustration, is a really good tool for that, where you put your main idea in the middle. In this case, it's database XYZ presentation. And I think about the key themes. And the key themes are going to be about troubleshooting, about the database at XYZ itself, about logging into the database, and about using a database. And then I can break each of those down. So for troubleshooting, under the topic of troubleshooting, I want to talk about using the help desk, about accessing cheat sheets, about using the help menu. And then under the topic of about the database XYZ itself, I want to talk about it being the latest technology, about how easy to use it is, about how it's industry best practice and maybe used by some of the key organizations, about how there's local support. So a mind map is really a brainstorming tool where I can just do a bit of a brain dump in terms of what's in my head and get it into schemas where they associate or belong in certain clusters, and that can help me in terms of starting to present starting to put together my plan or my presentation. When we're organizing that content that I just went through in my that I put on my brain dump in my mind map, I think about how I'm going to structure it up. And usually there's three levels: the stuff that people must know, which is critical to the presentation. When people leave this presentation, they must know this. There's also a second layer, which is they should know. So it's not as critical as must know, but it's important that they should know this. And then there's a nice to know, which is not as critical as important, but if we've got time, it'd be nice to share this information as well. And we can do that chronological in terms of the order of content by time or by process, steps A, B, C, by problem to solution, by general to specific, by pros and cons, or by good news versus bad news. There's no one way to do a presentation. It all depends on the content and how you want to set out that storyline that I talked about earlier. We've got our content down. We know what we want to present. We've sort of got an idea of the order that we want to present it in, and now we need to put this down on paper. And that's our presentation plan. Our presentation plan is where we can take the ideas that we've been brainstorming and making notes about, and we start to structure it up in a plan of attack. A presentation plan will have an objective, will have some type of measure of success. It will have the components I want to go through, the topics. It'll talk about the timing for each of those topics, and then I can add to that. Depending on the type of presentation, I can add to the method of presenting. So one topic I might lecture on, the next topic I might do a little bit of a practical exercise on, the next topic we're going to do a group discussion on. So depending on what the presentation is, there might be a mix of methodologies around there. And I also want to think about resources that I might need and so forth. So a presentation plan might look something like, and this is just one example of a presentation plan used in my space as a trainer presenter, where we've got a date, a time, a location, any pre-work that needs to be done. The objective: by the end of this presentation, participants will know how to undertake a career assessment and how to use a range of tools to assist them. Sorry about the typo. So I will have the time, 9:30 a.m. For 5 minutes. I'm going to do introduction and housekeeping. And here I'm going to facilitate a welcome. I'm going to go over the agenda. I'm going to introduce myself to the group. I'm going to make sure everybody's aware of the emergency procedures. And the resources is I'm going to have a PowerPoint slide for this one. I'm going to use slide 1, 2, and 3. Then my next topic is about managing your career. Why is managing your career important? What are the key steps to take when managing your career? And then this is how I'm going to go about doing that. And then these are the activities I'm going to employ for this presentation. And these are my resources. So I'm really just stepping it out and helping me to put together a roadmap of how I'm going to do my presentation.